Hello, welcome everybody. Today's video with Chief Architect software, we're going to demonstrate an entire home design. We're going to design this house on the screen, and I'm actually going to break the video up into a few sections. If you want to watch the entire video, you can do that. Or if you're just interested in kitchens, baths, or the framing, you can skip ahead and watch those individual videos available on our website. Quick introduction about Chief Architect. You can use it for residential design for a whole house, decks, patios, light commercial design, and interior design. As well, kitchens and baths. There's a variety of both generic, non-manufacturer, and manufacturer cabinets available in the software. If you are using it for kitchen and bath design, of course, we do additional items such as the custom ceiling you see in this scene here, or this scene in the bathroom. All of these objects have been designed using Chief Architect, and you can get a closer look at these on our website. As I mentioned, we support a number of manufactured items, whether that's cabinets, doors, windows, materials, textures. You can download those all off of our website. I'll bring that up here in a minute before we get started. And as you're doing your design work, you can, again, design a variety of rooms with Chief Architect, so you can use this to sell your work to your clients, or if you happen to be designing your own home, you can use the software to do that as well. In addition to having great renderings with Chief Architect, we support the ability to create construction documents, and you can do site plans, you can do your elevation plans, framing and electrical plans. All of these things you can actually do within the software of Chief Architect. We'll skip ahead through a few images here, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is the house that we plan to design today. I call it our beach cottage house. We're going to begin the design with the main floor. We'll design it as a ranch style. We'll do the kitchen work after we outline the walls and do the framing. And then we'll go ahead and treat that as a remodeling project, and we'll add our second floor. You'll notice we have some detail on the second floor with the roof, exposed trellis built in, and then a balcony above the first floor. As you're watching the video, you can always go to our website, and in our user center, there are plans and sample galleries that you can take a look at. You'll be able to download this sample plan, the beach cottage, from our website. Under our Chief User Gallery, you'll also find the different renderings that we're showing on the website as well. There's also a number of resources you can look at in our training videos. There are over 500 different training videos that you can watch as a customer. And there is also our overview video that is available for anybody that would like to watch the overview video that will cover many of the things that I'm going to show here in our beach cottage house. Let's go ahead and get started. In Chief Architect, I've already designed the beach cottage house, and you can take a look at the completed model that we're going to go ahead and build. You can look at the main floor that we have, complete with a fireplace, main living space. It's about 1,600 square feet, master bedroom, master bath, and then our kitchen. So we move up to the second floor. You can see that this will be the section that we get into with the remodeling. We have a couple of bedrooms and then our exposed balcony. So as we begin our new design called the Beach Cottage, we're going to go ahead and open up Chief Architect with a template. And in the template, what I have done is I've set the ceiling heights, the colors, materials, and textures, which allows you to define those if you happen to know what your client wants up front. You can always change these things later in the design as you want to. When Chief Architect is open, you'll find the menu system with the walls, windows, doors, cabinets, the electrical, framing, roofing tools, the CAD tools, elevation tools, and the 3D tools. And we'll discuss each one of these as we use them. To begin with, I'm going to select our exterior wall, and I'm going to roughly shape out a 40 by 40 room. You'll notice as I'm dragging my dimension, my walls, my dimensions automatically display. I'm not worried too much about being precise because I have an automatic dimension tool. You'll find that up here in our menu. When I click on the dimension tool, you'll see that there are automatic dimensions. By the way, I'm using a menu system that displays the tools over here. If you happen to be using our trial version, you may also see that in a drop-down option that may be the default. I'm going to select the automatic dimensions, click it, and you'll see the dimensions automatically appear. To resize this room, all I have to do is click on the wall, move it, or you can simply highlight the dimension and enter in a precise location. In this case, I'm going to enter in 40 feet. So again, if we slide down, I'm going to move my living area out of the way. Simply highlight the wall, pull it down, or again, enter in an exact dimension. Once we're finished, zoom out here just a little bit, you can see that we have a 1,600-foot main floor, and using my camera floor overview tool, you can see the way this design looks, and you can navigate and see the preview. This is more than just a 3D design because we can actually come in here and continue. By selecting our window tool, I'm going to select and place that window in the wall. You can move that around, you can resize it, reposition it, and every object in Chief Architect has the ability to be customized. Simply double-click on it, and you'll open up a information box that has a variety of tabs along the top. As you click through these, you'll see that each object you can specify as much detail as you want. So for this particular window, let's go ahead and we'll set the dimensions to 36 by 54. And my default is 90 inches floor to top. If you want to make sure all of your doors and windows are aligned, you can always check that. And you'll notice that in my preview over here, I've got an update. I've got my casement window selected. There's a variety of window styles you can choose from. And in this case, I'm actually just using a custom window. If you use a manufacturer window, you can download those from the website. Once I've got all of the settings defined, you'll notice that my rough opening is currently set to 1 inch. And then I'm going to save the other options for another demonstration here a little bit later. Once I've accepted those, I'll go ahead and pull that window over here just a little bit. And if I toggle in my menu system and split my window, you can actually see both of the floor plan and the 3D view in the same screen. Nothing special about that. You can just split your screen. And if I highlight this window in my floor plan view, I'll zoom in here just a little bit. Again, if I drag this over, you'll notice it update in the 3D view and likewise in the 2D view. You'll notice that I have a set of dimensions here. I can click on that, and if I want that window exactly positioned, I'm going to go ahead and set that to 3 feet off the edge. So this is a temporary dimension that's being displayed. You saw how we did the dimensions for the walls earlier. You can easily add those. Dimensions can be controlled to do your center, your casing, and it can also be changed to your rough openings. Mine happens to be to the actual edge of the window. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use my copy, and I'm going to create a copy of that. Perhaps we'll just create a couple of copies here. And we'll slide those over and we'll create a mold unit. And if I highlight that, we can come in and we'll zoom in here just a little bit. If I want my molding to be precise, I can set that molding for the window. Again, all you have to do is highlight the window, click on the dimension, and you can precisely locate it. Doors work the same way as windows. Simply select the door tool up here in our menu, click and place it, and you can resize that, reposition it. You can also open it up just as we did with the windows, and you have complete control over the exact look of this custom door. Now I'm going to remove this door, and let's browse our library for a manufacturer door. And if I come down and I'm going to look for one of our Simpson doors, the library in Chief Architect has tens of thousands of objects. You can download these from our library. You can also support DWG, DXF, and a variety of other formats if you find those off of a website. The Simpson Door Company has a nice collection of doors. I'm going to choose the Empress door. Simply grab that. You'll notice that I get a preview down here in our library, and simply click and place that door inside of our design. You can get a preview of it. I'm also going to place one of the side lights here. We'll go ahead and place that right next to the door. And I'm actually going to open up this side light, and these come in a variety of sizes. I'm going to change this to 18 inches. Get an update for that. We'll set that to 18 inches, and then once I'm good with that, we'll select OK. You'll notice the preview updates. And then I can do the same thing to the other side of the door if I want another side light. I'm going to use one of our tools that will allow us to copy it. You'll notice down here in the lower left-hand side of your screen, there's a copy button. And then I'm going to reflect that right around our front door and flip that side light around. And it's one of the easy tools. Once you've done some work, save you a little bit of time. Let's move to the inside of the house and let's add our interior walls. I'm going to toggle back to my floor plan view. If we zoom out here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select our door unit. I'm going to use my center tool, and I'm going to actually center that on the room that we have. So now that door is exactly centered. And what I want to do is I want to select my wall tool, and I'm going to choose my interior wall. By the way, there's a variety of wall types that you can use with Chief Architect. I happen to use from my exterior wall a siding 6. You can see the variety of layers that make up that wall. And when you do your materials list, you can calculate that. The wall types that ship with Chief Architect, there are several to choose from, ranging from simple interior to ICF to glass block. You can make any wall style that you want. With our interior wall tool, I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a handful of interior walls. I'm just going to come in here and create the different walls that we want. I'm going to set this up as our bathroom. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and you'll notice that I can click on the wall and get our dimensions. I can also run my dimension tool, simply run that down the side of the wall, and we can make these permanent. So I'm going to select this wall, and I want that precisely located about 20 foot 1 inch. Use my foot indicator, accept that. So that's exactly positioned there. And again, if I want to pull that dimension, you can simply highlight the wall, or you can click on the dimension. I'm going to enter in 5 feet in this case. And the final thing I want to do is I want to set this wall out to be 6 feet. So I'm going to make this our guest bath. And I'm going to create a couple other rooms over here on the side. We'll just drag our wall up. And I'm not going to worry too much about the exact dimensions. We can add those in later. I'm going to create a few different walls for master bath. And we'll just come in here and create this shape. And perhaps I'll just skip ahead and show you the completed walls once I get those set in place. I completed adding the interior walls. I also updated the entry door to be the Simpson Prairie Fill to add a little more character. Using our 3D camera tool, I'm going to use our perspective floor overview. We also call it the dollhouse view, as you can see why. And you can rotate around. You can see the different walls that we've added. By the way, you can edit any of these walls in the 3D view if you want to pull those back and make adjustments. Let's go ahead and bring up our 2D and 3D view. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and select this room over here on the far left. And if you open up the room, we have the ability to specify the ceiling height. You'll notice the diagram over here on the right-hand side. You can specify the ceiling height. You can specify if there is a style of roof over this, the ceiling structure, the floor finish, the floor structure for the platform information. If you're going to lower that, you have the information here in the settings to do that. There's also a number of other tabs for moldings, wall coverings, and then the materials if you want to choose those. I'm going to go ahead and choose the name of bathroom for that. Select OK. And if I change my 3D view here just a little bit, you'll notice that the material for the bathroom updated. Again, that's because in my template plan, I have defined those variety of things. Choose this room here. And if I open this up by double-clicking on it, I'm going to choose the kitchen from the list. Again, if you click on the Structure tab, you'll notice in my case I have a 109" and 1/8. Works out to be 9 feet and also takes into account our floor finish. So this happens to be the default that I'm using is a 9-foot ceiling. Again, if you want to change that on a room-by-room basis, you can do that. Or again, if you know up front the floor heights and platform thicknesses, you can set that in your template plan. Choose OK. And again, you'll notice that my default material updated. And the next step is to begin our kitchen work. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom into this area and we'll begin our kitchen design. As we begin the kitchen design for the beach cottage house, I'm going to zoom in to this section of the room in our perspective 3D view. And step one is I'm going to use our material eyedropper. And I'm going to choose the hardwood floor in one of these other rooms and apply it in our kitchen. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up our 2D view along with this perspective view by pressing Shift F6 on the keyboard. And that way I can take a look at the 2D plan view here on the right-hand side of my screen. The first thing that I'm going to do with the kitchen is along this back wall, I'm going to start by placing a cook range, and I'm going to center it in this wall so we can build somewhat of a symmetrical kitchen. Opening up our library browser, I'm going to browse into our custom or generic appliance items, and I'm going to find a range that will fit the sort of style that the client would want. You get a preview of that, and then I'm going to simply grab that and click along this back wall. You can highlight this object, you can move it around, you can also highlight it in the 2D view and move it around, and you will find a tool down here in the lower left section of your screen called Center Object. I'm going to select that tool and I'm going to come over here and center it exactly on that room, and it will place that range in the center of the room. The other thing that I can do is let's determine our dimensions of this room by using my interior dimension tool. So I will select our dimension tool up here in my menu bar, and using the interior dimension tool, I'm going to simply drag a dimension from wall to wall. And once I have that complete, let's go ahead and open that up and make that dimension a little bit larger for the video. Override the default, we'll make it set the height. So you can see that our kitchen has an interior sheetrock to sheetrock. If I zoom in, you can see the where the arrow is indicating on the dimension line. We have an interior area of 19 foot 3 inches. Back in our perspective view, I'm going to select my cabinet tool. And when I do that, I can choose base cabinets, wall cabinets, full height cabinets, custom countertops. Once I select the base cabinet tool, you can see exactly where the cabinet is placed. Again, my template plan has colors, materials, textures for the default. If we inspect this cabinet a little bit, we come in here and I'm going to select on the front tab here. You can see that I'm using a frameless cabinet with a full overlay door. You can specify the reveal and a variety of other sections. If you're using a framed construction, you can check this box and set the direction of the dimensions, face options, corner options, door and drawer styles. Again, I'm using a simple slab door, and you can choose into the library that we've browsed into and either choose a manufacturer door style or a generic custom style. And you can get as detailed as you want. If I come down here, you'll notice that the preview of the hardware, you can choose that from the library. And there's a variety of settings. You can actually customize your kitchen and create a variety of looks. Just to give you an idea of the style of cabinets you can create, I've got a slide here of both the custom cabinets on the far right-hand side and then some of the manufacturer cabinets. You can literally create thousands of combinations with the Chief Architect tool. You can create wine rooms. You can create the laundry rooms. We can also create pretty realistic kitchens, complete with the different styles and colors. So all of these renderings you can take a closer look at on the sample plan set on our website that I showed earlier. We go back into our plan, close these up, and let's go ahead and accept all of the defaults that we have for this cabinet. And I'm going to go ahead and bump that up against the range. So I'm going to just slide that in there. And it actually bumps against it. Now, one of the options that I want to set for this particular cabinet, since this is bumping into the range, I want to make sure that this cabinet has a flat side so that when I do an elevation or a little bit different angle on the perspective camera, it has a flat edge and doesn't dive with the countertop into the range. So let's go ahead and open up this cabinet. And you can see that it's actually already got this flat side, which is exactly what I'm after since it's bumping up against that cabinet. I'm going to close down this perspective 3D view and I'm going to use my elevation wall camera. You'll find the elevation camera up here in the menu. And there's a variety of different ones we can use. I'm going to use a tool called wall elevation. And I'm going to come through here and cut a wall elevation through this section of the wall. And let's go ahead and zoom in here just a little bit. I'm going to select the base cabinet that we recently placed, highlight it, and I'm going to use my copy tool. Again, you'll find that down here in the lower left-hand menu. Select copy. And there's another tool down here that says reflect about an object. So I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to click right on the top of our range and reflect that around there. Again, this is a pretty useful tool for productivity. Once you've got something in place, using copy, replicate, reflect, you can use these tools. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to place a partition and refrigerator along this section of the wall. Up here in our menu, I'm going to choose our partition tool, and I'll come in here and simply click and place the partition. You can grab this, resize it. You can also double click on it, open it up. And I'm going to go ahead and set this to 84 inches. Width is 3/4, and then the depth for a refrigerator, we'll set it to 24 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and slide that against the wall. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to browse into the library and find a commercial refrigerator that will somewhat match our range. And one of the things that I've done in the library is you can create your own favorites folder. Since the library has over 10,000 items, you can of course always use this search box to find items. But if you happen to use just a few select items, you can create your favorites list. And that way you can easily choose things that you commonly use in that library. So in my appliances folder, I've got a commercial style refrigerator. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to place that. And I'm going to go ahead and bump that right against our partition. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the partition, select it, use my copy selection, and then we're going to reflect that about the refrigerator and have it snap in right to the edge. Now I've got a couple options here. I've got a very small couple inch space in here. And since I'm using a frameless cabinet, I could put a filler in there, or what I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to grab this cabinet here and I'm going to slide all of them over and have it bump. So the cook range is slightly off-centered by a couple of inches. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place another cabinet another base cabinet over here. Let's go ahead and bump that over. And what I want to do with this particular cabinet is create a bank of drawers. So I'm going to highlight the edge of it, and I'm going to come in here and make it 18 inches. You'll notice that since I'm using a custom cabinet, it automatically updated to a single door. And if I double click on that cabinet, what I want to do is I want to modify and create a bank of drawers. So I'm going to highlight the front of the drawer, and I can click delete. And then I can come in here and I can add a new drawer in here. So let's go ahead and choose drawer. And the first thing I want to do is I want it to be 10 inches. You get the preview update. And let's go ahead and add a couple of more drawers in here. Maybe we'll set that one to be 8 or 9 inches. And then finally, let's select this last section and let's turn that into a drawer. So you can see the preview of our bank of drawers. Select OK. And that's what we've converted that into a bank of drawers, 18 inches. Finally, I'm going to place a full height cabinet and place a oven and a drawer below it. To click and place for our double oven, and I'm going to resize that to 33 inches, bump it against the wall, and then I'm also going to go up to 96 inches. Browse into my appliances. Again, I've gone into my favorites category. I have a standard double oven, and I'm going to click and place that into that cabinet. If I select the cabinet, let's go ahead and modify this. I'm going to select the upper set of double doors, and I'm going to change that item height to 30 inches. Press tab. You see the update in the preview. And the final thing is, let's go ahead and select this set of double doors and change it to a drawer. Once we accept that, you'll see it update in our elevation view. And all the changes that I just went through with this, I can simply click down here in the lower left-hand side of the screen where it's Add to Library, and I can add that into my library and reuse it if I've spent very much time modifying a cabinet. Let's maximize our elevation view and move on to our upper wall cabinets. The first thing that I'm going to do is let's go back into our appliance catalog, and again I'm going to come into my favorites, and I want to find a wall hood. I'm going to click and place that back here on the back wall, select it, and I'm going to use my center tool and click on the range. That way it will precisely locate that on the center. Let's go ahead and snap the top of the cook hood up to the ceiling. And now we want to add a couple of wall cabinets in here. So using my cabinet wall tool, I'm going to click and place a couple of these wall cabinets. Let's go ahead and make this 39 inches. Just shy of the cook range, so when we do our custom backsplash, that'll give us a little bit of room. I'm going to select this cabinet. Down here in our toolbar, use the Copy and Reflect About the cook hood. Flip that around. And let's place one more wall cabinet in this space in here. And since we've got a set of double doors, let's double click on that. Make the change to a left or a right door. Get the preview. And now the final cabinet we want to place is above the refrigerator. And I see that when we did our refrigerator, we did not put a top shelf above that. So I'm going to use our shelf tool, and I'm just going to come in here and click to place a shelf. And let's go ahead and bump that out to be 48 inches. And we'll pull that down just off the top of the refrigerator. And I'm going to just double click on that. And I want to set the depth to be 24 inches. And now I will go ahead and place my wall cabinet in here. Come in here. Let's go ahead and pull that down. And let's go ahead and bump that up against the wall, and then we'll set that to be 48 inches. And the final thing that we want to do with that cabinet above the refrigerator, let's go ahead and double click on it. And let's change the depth here to be 24 inches, and that should do it. Let's go ahead and zoom out. And so there is the elevation view of the cabinets. Over here on the far right-hand side of my screen, close my library browser for you, there is a toggle option to turn the color on and off. The other thing that we can do, you'll notice that I have my opening indicators on the doors. Let's open up the layer table, and I'm going to browse through the layers. Chief Architect is layer-based, so you can turn various things on and off, electrical, HVAC, and get the precise view that you're after. So here it is with the color off, and we can now use our dimension tool and go ahead and place some dimensions in here. To place dimensions on our wall elevation for our kitchen cabinets, Chief Architect ships with annotation sets. And I've set up a couple of annotation sets which just make it easy to dimension in a particular style. And I'm going to use one of the styles called the NKBA elevation cabinets. Once I've got that selected, I'm going to use my dimension tool, and I'm going to simply drag a dimension line through our cabinets. Let's pull that dimension line down. You can double click on this and you can change the style, primary format, the fonts, the extensions, the arrows, and make this look however you would prefer in your style guidelines. So I've got my cabinet dimensions for my boxes. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a center line, and I'm going to choose my center line tool here, and I want to pick up the center lines for my appliances. So let's go ahead and pull that center line down, and it looks like I missed the last center line, so I'm just going to drag this diamond. If you miss a particular element, you can always either add a diamond, which is a marker, or pull it off just simply by pulling it off. So we've got our center lines for our appliances, and now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a end-to-end dimension. And let's go ahead and dimension the entire wall here. Set that up, and we'll pull that down. I can do the same thing for the upper cabinets, and so that we pick up the different dimensions, but I think you get the idea. It's pretty easy to add your dimensions. Let's go ahead and toggle our color back on. And then you can send that out to your layout page. And I'm going to show that here in a little bit, but let me pull up a couple of examples of what we. So I've opened a sample of one of our kitchen plans. Again, you can find several samples of our plans on the website. But here's a plan view that shows the cabinet schedule along with the labels. You can see the cabinet schedule here in the right-hand side. Fixture schedule, you can then append a rendering in there. And you can set up the details. Here's an example of one of the islands that we've created. And then I've also got an example of a bathroom. Again, you can combine, if we zoom in here just a little bit, elevation views. You can get your custom ceiling information in there. And then it's kind of nice to also append one of your images that you've ray traced. You'll notice the reflections and the different properties add the realism to that. And then the final one that I'll just show here, here's a room schedule showing a couple of options if you want to put a room schedule that shows the moldings, the profiles, finish notes. You can combine that with that as well. A couple final things that we'll do for our kitchen. I want to add a backsplash behind our cook range, and then I also want to place our kitchen island. So to add a backsplash behind our cook range, I'm going to use our slab tool. I'm just going to come in here. Let's go ahead and zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to come in here and let's go ahead and snap from cabinet to cabinet, and we'll create the rough shape of the backsplash. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this up to the ceiling and then behind the cook range. So we'll just snap that up to the top, and then we'll pull that down so that it bumps to the countertop. And then I'm going to double click to open this up, and I'm going to set the thickness of this to a 1/2 inch. And so we should be set with that, absent of the materials. I will close my elevation view down, and let's open up a perspective view. Save our cross section with our dimension information here. And let's choose our perspective floor overview camera. And let's zoom in and take a look at the different colors of the cabinet. So we can see that the material on the backsplash is basic concrete slab material. Now the default that I've used for the backsplash on the main cabinets, we can just simply use our color chooser, suck up the color, and spray that onto the backsplash for the cook range. That's a pretty dark color, so let's go ahead and open up our library and find something a little bit more interesting. Let's lighten up that backsplash, and then we'll also select some additional colors. Open up our library, and one of our manufacturers here is Zodiac. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to choose a couple of the colors. And you can kind of have fun and spray on the different colors in the plan. And we'll just choose a handful that we can select. You can always change one, or I've got an option with my material painter to paint all in the room, so we can make that entire change. Let's go in and find some colors for the cabinets. Any of the objects you can easily spray the paint or colors on. You can find the different colors by simply browsing into the library here. And let's see if we can find a few of the manufacturers. Here's our Behr paint catalog. We can come in here, choose a lighter color, spray it. It's very easy to visualize the different color combinations, especially for your clients. Then you can save these renderings out in a few different styles. Here's an example that we've rendered this kitchen out. You can see in the upper left-hand corner here, we rendered the kitchen out with white cabinets, dark cabinets, and then in the lower left corner is the actual photo. So it gives you the ability to use these colors, materials, textures to quickly render these scenes out. And then you can use this to sell your client and help them visualize what they might want to look at. Let's return back to our plan, and I've actually saved some colors that I wanted to use for this plan in my favorites folder. So I'm going to come down into the favorites folder that I have set up here. And let's browse down and let's find the color that we're after. I'm going to select this tile glass and let's apply that into the backsplash. And then I'm going to select the Benjamin Moore color for the cabinets, Nantucket Breeze, and we'll apply that to the cabinets. So you can see the effects of that. Again, if you find a color on a website or materials that you've gotten from a digital photo, you can easily use that and add that into your own folder and then apply that specific color. It's kind of a fun step, and if you want to share this with your clients, put it on a website, email it to them, or even take a virtual tour. Any of the mouse movements that you make on the screen, you can actually record those. Let's quickly add our kitchen island, and if I open up my library again, I have actually already created this library, and we should have a focus video available on the process of building a custom island. But just like we had designed the cabinet with our oven and done the drawer and adjustments, you can save any of these elements. You can save an entire kitchen in the library and reuse it. In doing so, let's go ahead and let's tile our views. And I'm going to grab this island, and in my floor plan view, I'm just going to come in here and place it approximately where I want the island. You can see that update in the 3D view. I'm going to highlight this island, and I'm going to center that over the cook range. And then I'm going to select my dimension down here. And let's go ahead and set that to be something like 54 inches off of the cook range. And now we've got that located. Let's maximize our 3D view. And so you can see the way that looks. We navigate around, pull that around and we can take a look at it. So when we created this custom island, which we spent a little bit of time doing, we put the electrical, some accessories, and also some seating. Let me turn on my layer so we can see if there is a plant or flower in there. I'm just going to open up my layers, turn on my plants, and we should be able to see that as a result. So if you've done very much design work, save it into your library, reuse it. You can actually group select this, unblock it. There's an unblock command, and then you can individually edit these items and make use of work that you've already done. As long as we've got our library open, let's go ahead and let's find our dining room table. Scroll down in here. And I'm going to place that dining room table over in this area. And there we've got our dining room table. So very quick to accessorize the design. You don't have to spend a lot of work. And now let's go ahead and move on to the ceiling. And I'm bring up a photo of the house that we're designing here. So eventually we're going to add a second story. In anticipation for doing that, as we get to that point, I'm going to go ahead and add the beam structure in to support this wall as it's inset here off of the main floor. So to do that, close that down. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw a support beam that would support that wall. I'm going to use my framing tool to draw a couple of beams in our kitchen. And again, this is in anticipation when we build our second floor. We need a support mechanism to bear that wall that is inset on the second floor from the first. So I'll close down my 3D view and I'm going to use one of my manual framing tools to create a couple of beams. I'm going to select the framing tool here, and then we're just going to drag a beam across here, and I'm not going to worry too much about the exact location. If we open up this beam, you can see the dimensions. You can specify what sort of a framing member it is, and I'm going to just leave it as a 12 inches by 3.5. And I'm going to have this bear exactly over the top of this bathroom wall. And now I'm going to copy using my copy tool, and I'm going to copy that. Let's just pull that out. And as I'm pulling that over, I'm going to press the Tab key here. And when you press the Tab key, you can specify an exact dimension. So in this case, I'm going to move it over 4 foot and 3.5 inches because I know that I'm going to put a fireplace over here to support the rest of that beam. Select OK. So we now have our two beams. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use one more beam, and I'm going to come across here and drag another beam. And this is not structural, more decorative. So let's go ahead and select this beam, open it up. And I'm going to lower the dimension here from 12 inches to 6 inches. And I'm also going to lower the height of this, and I want that to set about at the bottom of that beam. And we'll select OK. And now what I want to do with that beam is I want to copy that in some increment all the way down to the bottom here. And let's go ahead. It looks like I didn't snap these two beams to the end of this wall, which we're going to want a beam pocket in with our detail. So if I scroll back in here, let me zoom out so I can get the entire run of that in. I'm going to select that beam that we just drew. Let's make sure that I have it exactly snapped into place. Snap that to the edge. Once I have that snapped, I'm going to use my multiple copy tool. And I'm going to set that to be 18 inches as I copy that. And now I can just drag that all the way down. Now before we take our 3D view, let's take a look at the impact of our island. We may want to pull that back a couple of inches. So let's go ahead and We'll just set that to be 4'3". Pull that back in there a little bit. And we can kind of see where our electrical lights, if they're going to go through those beams okay. It looks okay. We can always make adjustments a little bit later. And let's go ahead and take our 3D view. I'm going to again use our overhead camera. And let's turn on our layer for the ceiling framing so we can actually see it. So here it is. And if you want to match the colors, we can grab the color eyedropper, pull that in, and we can paint these elements. Let's go ahead and paint all of them. And maybe what we want to do is we want to take and apply a darker color to this outside beam. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and let's find a darker color here. Open up the library and let's just find a darker brown. So I'm going to open up Bear Paint, and we'll pick one of these colors, and I'm going to change it just so it applies that to one of the beams, and we'll apply it to both sides. I may want to pull that out just a little bit so that we don't see that in our wall above the bathroom. So let's go ahead and pull that over here just a little bit. Set that to be 6'1". See if we can slide that out a little bit and see if that solves our issue there. So now we can see that beam coming through, and that's how we did our custom ceiling, and we'll also use that as a bearing point when we design the second floor. As we progress along, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward and put the remaining doors and windows in. Next, I'm going to build the foundation, the roof, and the framing. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to pause here for just a second, and I'll fast forward to having the windows put in, and then we'll move forward. I've gone ahead and added the doors and windows in here to speed things along. I also applied a carpeting material in the area that will be the bedroom and then also the closet. The next thing I'm going to do is build our roof. And let me close our 3D view down. Or actually, I'll just choose that right here out of the build menu. And when we build our roof, there's a variety of different roof styles that you can build. And for this particular roof, let's make a couple of changes in the defaults. I'm going to set the pitch to be 12 and 12. And I'm also going to set the eave overhang to be 12 inches, 12 inches. If we look at some of the options, I have turned off the gutter here, edge flashing, and there's a variety of other settings depending on how you're going to frame it or use trusses, and we'll actually do the framing here in a little bit. So I'm going to accept all of these defaults, and I'm going to leave this option to automatically rebuild the roof. And let's build our standard hip roof, and then I'm going to have to change my camera view here. You can see the roof planes here in our plan view, this dashed line that intersects the house, our default hip roof. We take our 3D overview, and you can see the roof in the 3D view. You can toggle on the glass house view. You can actually see through and see where the eave and the baseline intersect. Top plate. Let's go ahead and toggle that back off. And you can change this roof. This is a fully editable roof plane. If you want to pull that back, if you're doing any custom design, you can also simply select the wall. And then we've got a toggle down here in the lower left that you can toggle that wall on to a gable or toggle it to hip. Makes it pretty quick. The next thing that I'm going to do is let's go down and build the foundation. Let's choose that option here from our menu. And I'm going to build our foundation. The options, you can build with a pier, slab, you can build a full basement, or you can build a crawl space. In this case, I'm going to set my crawl space to be 48 inches. And I'm going to accept the defaults, and I'm actually going to click this button here to automatically rebuild the foundation when we make changes. So you can see our foundation generates, and let's actually close this 3D view down. And let's go down. I'm on floor 1. Let's go down to the floor below. You can see that it generated a set of walls below the bathroom. And one of the things that we did when I designed this wall, let's go ahead and open that up. And on the Foundation tab, you can see that I had marked that as a bearing wall. So when we do that, you'll see that it automatically then generates that foundation. We can take an overview of just that floor, and you can see that when the foundation was built, it automatically put the footing at 16 inches and then our stem wall at 8 inches, and those were the defaults that we had selected. Now, if I go into our materials list, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Materials list you can calculate by floor, by area, by room, or you can also do it within a certain area called a polyline. Some of these things you may find more helpful when you're doing a remodeling project. In this case, let's calculate our materials list here for the entire structure. Looks just like an Excel spreadsheet. And if we come down here, this first section, I'll highlight it here, is what we call our general information. And it gives you your heated ceiling area, your heated glass area, and you'll notice the orientation, north, east, west, south. So you can use that information to do your energy calculations if you use the Department of Energy ResCheck or a similar program. As you scroll down the materials list, you will find the different categories. So here's a foundation that we just created, and we've got a little bit more than 16.5 yards. I can enter in a price and then it will automatically calculate that for you. We don't ship with prices, but you can easily set up a master's list, and for those elements that you buy on a regular basis that you feel good about the price, you can just simply save that into that list and it will calculate it for you. So if you come down in here, just in the foundation alone, you can see rebar, the footing that we have. Again, all you have to do is enter the price and it will automatically calculate it for you. Here's our subfloor. We don't have much of the framing done because we only did that custom element, and we will go back and do that framing. Again, scrolling down, here's our doors, windows, the cabinets that we've been adding, and you can actually generate individual schedules for each one of these areas. So if you want to do an appliance schedule, a door schedule, window schedule, you can isolate those as well. With the majority of our main floor built, foundation, walls, windows, doors, and roof, the next phase that we're going to do is our framing. So let's open up our framing option, and let's do our framing for the various sections. You'll notice in this dialog that I have several tabs. And if we come in here, beginning with the foundation, I'm going to build the floor framing, which would be the subfloor for the main floor, floor 1. And then I'm going to skip the ceiling framing for now because, again, I'm going to come back and do the second floor. But I do want to build the wall framing. One of the things you'll actually notice with Chief Architect is it has commonly used defaults. These defaults you can override. In this case, we've already got for our outside walls a 6-inch wall. It's going to use a 2x6. For our interior walls, we selected 2x4. So I can't control that in the framing, but I can change the stud thickness and the spacing, as well as the number of top plates. But I'm going to accept these defaults and check Build Wall Framing. And then the final thing, I'll show you a couple of these tabs. Openings, if you want to do your trimmers, your headers, you can specify the header distance depending on the size of the opening. All of this framing can be manually adjusted later as well. In the Roof Framing tab, you'll again see these different members that are being used. You can change those as you build it. But I'm going to go ahead and accept those defaults. So I'm going to build my subfloor, my wall framing, and my roof framing. And probably going to get prompted to turn those different layers on as we go through and build those. And let's go ahead and toggle on our glasshouse view here. And as we toggle on the glasshouse view, you can actually see through the structure. Let's close that view. And let's take a framing overview, just showing the different framing. You can actually see the custom framing member that we put in there. And then if you want to turn your doors and windows off for a 3D view, you can just come into the layer set, choose those options, and determine what you want to turn on and off. Now, if I bring up this view, let's go ahead and select this wall. I don't have the framing layer turned on in our 2D. So let's go ahead and change that. Let's just turn on our wall framing here. Come down and find our wall framing, turn on that layer. That way we can see the framing. And if you select an individual wall, let's go ahead and select this outer left wall, we can actually get an individual framing takeoff. And you can see if I zoom in here, particularly where we have that window opening, you can select any of these objects. You can easily modify it, pull it back, adjust it. If you double click on it, again, you've got that framing dialog. You can choose the information about it. You can change the thickness and all of the dimensions about that. So each one of the framing elements can be modified manually, and you may find that the automatic framing does a great job, but there are cases where you want to do an engineered wall and you need to add some additional detail. Close that, and let's take one more peek back at our 3D framing. And again, you can turn on the different views. This is more of a computerized vector view, glasshouse view, and allows you to see different things. If you have a complicated roof, sometimes a 3D view like this, even though this isn't complicated, will allow your framers to better see what sort of framing situation you may have. Earlier, when we did our materials list after completing the foundation, we showed a complete listing, but now that our framing is complete, we actually have an option in our defaults with the materials list. If I go in and edit this function called structural member reporting, we can see that there's actually a couple options. The default is to list total lineal length, but you can also choose an option for a cut or by list. And you can even specify if the lumber store has a surplus or a better price on some of the members. We include an entire list of lumber that is in this table down here, which ships by default with the program, or you can create your own and set it up to be the best purchase price when you do your purchasing. So again, that's found under the structural member reporting. You can easily switch that for a cut or by list. For the next section of this video, let's go ahead and add the terrain or the plot plan for this house. I'm going to close down the 3D view, and in my layers, I've got my default set. And again, Chief Architect's layer base, you can choose a variety of layers you can turn on or off, and you can add your own custom elements and put them on your own layer. You can also choose between layer sets and then turn things on or off. For example, we have a framing set or an electrical set, and just allows you to quickly turn on all of the layers for that specific view that you're after. I have a layer set that's a default called the plot plan. I'm going to change to the plot plan, and you'll notice that it turns off all of our interior elements and leaves the walls without color. It also leaves on the roof planes. I'm going to zoom out here, and I'm going to switch my toolbar set up here to the terrain configuration. With the terrain configuration, I'm going to create our perimeter, and it will automatically place that in there. And I'm going to roughly come in here and create a terrain perimeter that may be somewhere in the range of 125 feet. Let's click on this dimension here. Set that to be 125 feet. And let's go ahead and let's just center that on our house for now using our center tool. And then the other dimension, let's go ahead and set that to be 140 feet. And we'll just make it a little wider so we can put a road out in front of the design. We'll just pull that so it's a little bit further ahead so we have room to add that road. So once the terrain perimeter is in place, the next thing I'm going to do is double click on it, and I'm going to remove the auto calculate, because one of the things that we're going to want to do, let's take a look at our photo here. We're going to want to slope our terrain from right to left with a gradual slope so we can replicate the plot plan for the house that we have here in the photo. So to do that, I'm going to use my terrain elevation tool, and I'm going to draw an elevation line down this side, and we'll just leave that at our default, which would be at the same level as the base terrain. And then I'm going to come over here and draw another line. And this is the line that I'm going to double click and open up. And I'm going to lower the elevation. So again, it slopes downward. And I'm going to set that to -4 feet. And now we should be able to take a 3D view and see what this looks like. Choose our overview camera here. And let's go ahead and zoom in here. So you can see that we've got the terrain sloping the way we want it. And now we can go ahead and add our stairs up to the doorway, and we'll also place a road. So close our 3D view here. I'm going to use my road tool, and I'm just going to drag a road through here. That way we can see it in our 3D view, and I'll just pull that back a little bit. And then I'm also going to use sidewalk, pull that through here. Move this sidewalk a little bit closer to the front door, and then we'll also draw one more sidewalk that would come back from the entry. So let's just drag one more back here. And then I'm going to use my stair tool. Let's pull our road back a little bit closer too. I'm going to use my stair tool, and we'll create a set of steps down from the front porch. So I'm just going to come in here and click to place those stairs. It will automatically attach to the terrain. Let's go ahead and make these a little bit wider. And maybe we can do the same thing here with the sidewalk as well. I'm not going to worry too much about this being exact because we're going to add a covered porch when we do our second floor, and we'll go back in and change this. So I've got my basic plot plan in place, and if I take a 3D view, we should be able to see the road, the sidewalk, the stairs, and with Chief Architect, any of these objects that you place on the terrain will automatically follow them, so you can see the road and the sidewalk have both followed the slope of our terrain. You can use pathway tools. We can do our plants and our landscaping. And in between, as we move on in the video, I'll go ahead and add some of those. But we have over 4,000 plants in the library with a plant chooser. We'll go ahead and open that up now. I'm going to add a few landscaping plants in here. I'm going to open up the library. And inside the library, we actually have a plant chooser. And with the plant chooser, if I just press search here, you're going to find a little over 7,200 items that have come up in this case. I can search by common or scientific name. You can search by color, by bloom time, height, maturity. You can search by zone map, change the location you're at, find the zone, use that. You can also search by type, subtype, and really a variety of options. I'm going to search for a tree ponderosa, and we'll come in here and select one of them. So I have a few options here. I'm going to close my plant chooser now that it's taken me to this location in the library. And we may just perhaps click and place a couple of these trees. Sometimes it's a little longer to place them in a 3D view. You may find that doing it in a 2D view is a little bit more efficient. So I'm going to close that down. And let's turn on our plants in this layer set here, so we can see where we're placing these items. So I'm going to go ahead and position that tree. And I'm going to copy that over here. And then maybe we'll put an adult ponderosa in, and we'll just put a couple of these in back in here. Each one of these plants you can open up and you can specify the information and the size. If we go into the plant information, you can see that you've got now for this specific plant maturity information, the age at maturity, and there's a feature that you can use in the program to grow the plants. So I can select that toolbar here, and again you can get a slider in here and so you can mature your plants. If we take and go back into our 3D overview, we can say the way that these trees look. We placed a couple of large trees, so you can come in here and add a little bit of variety. You can select those trees, pull them down, or you could open up, double click on them, and make the different changes you're after. If you need to create a plot plan for your house, you can easily do that and show that in the view. I'm going to turn off my plants so we don't see those trees. And let's say that we want our setback to be, and actually let's go ahead and turn off our terrain lines as well. Let's find our terrain contours. We'll turn those off here. Clean it up a little bit. So in this case, we want our plot plan setback to be 10 feet. So I'm going to draw a line in here, and I'm just going to simply type in 10 feet. So now that's set to be 10 feet off the edge. And I could continue around with that line and create a setback line. I can also use my CAD box tool and simply come in here and let's go ahead and draw, snap into that line. And I'm just going to drag a box roughly to the road. I'm not going to go past the road. And once I have that box in place, I can highlight it. And then I can concentrically copy that or move it in actually by holding down the Control and C key. So let's just go ahead and pull that in. And once I snap onto the line, then I've got my setback positioned. Let me tab in here and I'm going to just delete the line that we drew. So here's our setback. And if you want to open that up, double click on it. We can come in here, we can change the color of it. And we'll just pick a blue. And we'll also change the line style. We'll go with a dashed line. If you want to change the line weight, you can either set it here, you can also go into the layer and set the layer for that. So there's a setback, and if you want to get a little more sophisticated with your plot plans, we have an example on our website. Let me maximize this view for you. You can show the utilities, you can show the driveway, terrain walls. You can combine a 3D rendering with the before the construction, after the construction, and then you can put any of the notes and erosion controls that you may want to. If you want to get a closer look at this, again, see our website. We have this as a sample plan and also the images to do that.